Hello, my name is Harrison and I'll be doing my presentation today on my role as Film Office Assistant at Southeast Screen Archive. When deciding on my placement, I wanted to explore all avenues, as this pandemic, if anything, has taught me not to become too comfortable in one avenue or way of thinking. And as a result, I have applied for the role as Film Office Assistant at SASE. The personal specifications seem to line up to me, as someone with an interest in 20th century social history and having a high standard in written English. Not only this, but a placement in something other than my initial ideas such as journalism or teaching would allow me to broaden my skill set and get the most out of my university experience. Furthermore, as I will discuss later, the importance of archivists and their work is something I am now truly passionate about from my experience with SASE. So what is SASE and what do they hope to achieve? Well, SASE is the public sector film archive for the south east of England. The collection includes documentary films, newsreels, advertisements and amateur family films that reflect the changing nature of life and work across the south east from the 19th century to the present. The archive is committed to developing its collection and sharing it, undertaking a set of core activities such as acquisition, administration, rights management, documentation and cataloguing and so on. A key part of this work is to develop online resources, and this is what my placement was focused on. Within SASE though, my main roles and responsibilities were to research a film collection, write descriptive catalogue records, select and format still images for the website, ensuring to their standards, publishing a collection online, writing a news item, and writing a blog about my experience. My role again was essentially to further SASE's online presence. So my first week, I first met Jane, the Film Office Enterprise Manager at SASE. We talked about the concerns for rights of individuals involved in filming, like consent, children, etc., and for layers of permission, so something that's used for the archive, something that's available online, or something that's available for trading. There was also a key importance on the standardisation in archivist work and cataloguing, in order to avoid personalisation and difference in the many catalogue descriptions they make. And finally, there was an emphasis on the journey of film, with each work having its history through a technology or place, which is reflected in its final journey towards the archive. Week 2 started off with a meeting from Michael, who is the collection manager for SASE and how's the transferring process for film. It gave me important information on film, which are all technical aspects I had no knowledge prior to hearing from him for. He talked to me problems faced with archives from the digital age, and how as archivists we must be aware of the challenges faced with technological advances. These all allowed me to broaden my skill set for future employment. Following on from this, I had a further conversation with Jane, who outlined with me what things that need to be catalogued on my first day generally working towards my collection. Two films needed description and contextual information, and these were the Chichester drive-in films. Films designed for drive-in shows of local regions. I was told by Frank these proved to be very successful in driving up interest for the archive in the region they represent, and they need to be fully referenced in order for the contextual information to be easily researchable by those visiting the site. Our initial problem though was certain places of interest were not shown within the films. Using Board's triangular representation, I used the experience to reflect on the problems with it, and thus implemented my own private research to complete the cataloguing. The work consists of looking at individual films in the collection to help complete the description and contextual information, and I managed to complete most of it on time. The next staff member I was to have a meeting with was Nicholas, who discussed with me the making of a collection like the one on their website called War and Peace. This served as a good example for me for a properly referenced and clean collection, and as a result I incorporated some of these lessons into my work for the first 2 films, editing them to fit the style of something more professional like War and Peace, as you can see here. We further discussed themes that overlap my experience here at SASE, but also further exemplified the challenges of archiving in a digital age, and why my role of establishing their online presence is thus wholly important. He discussed with me the importance of the conversion of the process to analog and digital, and whether it is right to alter the original to make it more palatable for a consumer. As spoken about in one academic article, is it right to alter the original to make it more palatable for a consumer, or whether it is akin to pass off a Roman copy as a Greek statue as if it were a Greek original. And then why then should an audiovisual archive be content, say, to project acetate or digital copies of tinted nitrate film without carefully explaining how they differ from the original? He further explained the difficulties faced by a publicly funded archive, which has to adapt exceedingly to the pressures on government spending, but also adapt as they are forced to follow the industry and evolve into hybrid archives, taking care of both analogue and digital collections. In carrying on with my cataloguing work, I communicated with Frank Gray, the director of the archive, and one of my main points of communication throughout the process. He sent me useful notes for the film, Maidstone on Film. This film was rather long and contained a lot of contextual information that was in need of further research and understanding. I was initially hesitant to start working this film. Not only was it lengthy, but had a huge swathe of information attached to it, and as it was a film Frank had personally played a part in and had presented, I felt an obligation to fulfil my responsibility. However, I had furthered my skills in communication, resourcefulness and independence, as tackling this cataloguing and talking with these staff members took a certain skill set I was only now beginning to realise was crucial in the professional world. So, as I was now reaching my final days before publication, I was notified of a problem. There was various missing contextual information and referencing, as I had realised I hadn't transferred the referencing information properly onto the Google Sheet document. However, I learnt valuable lessons and skills in Google Sheets as it is commonly used in professional circles, and this further broadened my skill set. Finally, the final person I would meet is Stasia Botwright. She is the collections assistant for SASE, so I can finalise my collection ready for its publication on the site. This is where all my work would come into fruition as it becomes legible for online use. There was a description for the record, but it would need to be fleshed out so it was more accessible to everyone viewing it. She also explained the technical aspects of uploading, such as HTML and caption presenting stills. This filled me with relief as I felt unqualified to do the more technical aspects of this position and allowed me to complete my other tasks with confidence. The problems working from home were also highlighted throughout the meeting, and for that I did feel I could have gained a lot of knowledge being in their office. But this adversity has only pushed me to further impress through these difficult times. I also learned the growing need to adhere to WCAG compliance, as the need to flesh out their online presence grows. This compliance was a way to make web content more accessible to people with disabilities, involving visual, auditory, physical, and so on. This again reinforced the idea of the importance of an online presence in an industry under pressure to adapt in a digital world. Again, I did face another problem. I had to reformat various writings in the description of the collection. It used to read title reads but now needs to say intertitle. This is so it doesn't format weirdly when finally formatted on the site when used through the software and appears seamless to those viewing. Linking to the theme of online presence and accessibility. And with the final edits done, my collection was finally ready to be published. And this is my collection here, as you can see on the website. So, in conclusion, my experience with SASE has not only been eye-opening to an industry I had very little knowledge on, but also skills I didn't know I wanted or had. I learnt valuable skills in communication, professionalism, media management, online researching, and archiving knowledge. I am more than interested than I expected to be in public archiving. And as a result, I hope I will stay in touch with the team at SASE, and hopefully I can visit their office in person one day and gain even further valuable insights and skills from the passionate and infused team that I met there. Thank you for listening.